This is the new era. This is the new band, and we're unbreakable.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology. We can make him better than he was. Better, stronger, faster. Actually, better, stronger,
faster. Is that a
faster.
line from Starship Troopers or something?
No, it's actually the $1 Million Man.
$6 Million Man. I know that, and
I don't even know what that is.
We Brits don't do excitement, so this is the best you're gonna get.
Chris is bringing the noise today, apparently.
Speaking of vanilla,
it's just I don't understand why.
I don't think anyone does. I don't think Travis Green understands.
Talking you through every goalie controversy, scoring slump, and draft lottery bust. This is the C4 Podcast on CanucksHockeyBlog.com and CKNW.com. Here they are, the best starting lineup to never wear a C, Chris, Anna, Matt, and Adam.
Welcome to another episode of the C4 Canucks Hockey Podcast. This is Chris at Lightforce, joined in the big hot box by Matt Lee at @MattLee_61 and Anna Forsyth at @AForsyth03. As always, missing in action is the one and only Adam Obanel Carter at AdamFOC, who I swear, we were talking about this before we actually came into this box. He told us, hey guys, I'll be back. We're going to be able to do this in the summer when school is out. And then suddenly he's like,
he took a summer job at some summer camp, at some summer school.
Spending more time with children, which I regard as suspicious.
Borderline pedophilia.
Okay, well, I wouldn't go that far.
Let's not throw those words
No, let's start
around.
throw those words around. Okay? Law enforcement agencies, if you're listening, this is a guy in our podcast who hangs out a lot with children. In fact, a little more with children than he should.
See, I'm
those
just
are pure facts.
Hinting at it.
Am I wrong? Am I factually incorrect?
No.
He has filled his moral and professional obligations to teach the children of tomorrow, and so he was supposed to have the summer off and decided, oh, I love kids so much that I have to spend the entire summer with them as well. Suspect? I think so.
I hope I never get on your bad side. This is like one of your good friends, the guy you brought.
Once again, correct me if I'm wrong.
Podcast.
Am I wrong? Have I said anything factually incorrect? He's spending more time with children than he needs to.
See, I regard spending any time with children as suspicious, apart from your own, obviously. Baby Force is a clear exception, obviously. But any other children...
Don't kiss ass, Anna.
I like Chris's kid a lot more than I like him. He's well aware of that fact.
Yeah, I mean, most people do. It's like, hey, Chris, you want to go somewhere, do something? Bring Baby Force, right? And that's essentially code for, I don't really want to see you, but I know for me to see your daughter, you need to come along. Like, that's essentially what this is.
Now Anna's being creepy.
Yep, sure.
Well, this is a heck of an episode. Everyone seems to be enjoying so far, and we haven't even talked about hockey. I think, so this sort of came up in Discord. We never actually mentioned it on the podcast, but if you're one of our new listeners who found us through that conversation on Reddit, this is probably that pointless stuff that was shared. I apologize again for us being pointless. Hopefully
and once again, I am here to keep you all accountable and on track. This is why we are on the rails during the show. We have a lot to get into.
Like Uber.
No.
Hey,
we're not going to get into Uber.
Francesco's tweeting about it.
I know, but we're not going to talk about Uber. You save that for the family.
Fine. Lyft. Got it.
What I want to know, have you ordered your Tyler Myers jersey yet?
I ordered 2. One home, one away. I'm kind of contemplating getting the other alternates too.
Good enough for the next... Oh, crap. I already forgot what the contract is. 5 years, right? Oh, man. It's been a week.
Yeah. Mine just says tall guy on the back.
It is 30 by 5, right? 30 by 5?
30 total.
You'd think we were a professional
or is it 30,
hockey podcast.
Or was it? It is 30 by 5, right? Well, yes. Okay. No, I'm right.
You're making stuff up.
Honestly, Canada Day was so long ago that I am starting to forget a little bit.
Yeah, and I started
yes,
drinking to forget.
30 by 5, so it'll expire by 2024-25 season.
6 by 5.
6 by 5, 30 over 5.
Yeah.
In the pipe.
I was told there'd be no math.
By 5.
Yeah.
What else we gotta talk about? Jordie Benn. That's not we gotta talk about Jordie. Don't call me Jamie Benn.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about the Brock Besser's arm? Because apparently everyone else.
We can save that for a little bit. Is Brock Besser signed yet?
He is not.
I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Clicking record. He is not yet signed.
He doesn't have an arm yet to sign the contract.
Maybe that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's why there hasn't been a signature on the line. There are arm issues. Oh my God.
Can't believe we have been recording for the last 5 minutes and you've not mentioned Oscar Fantenberg's name.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm too busy trying to figure out when I'm going to weasel in the fact that I was right about Roberto Luongo, and you've made fun of me for how long?
Those years. The comeuppance is real, isn't it?
Like, seriously, who in their right mind
And
would
here
have
we
ever
go.
thought
Took 5 minutes.
that this would occur? Like, heck, there's people in the media world outside of Vancouver that are like, man, Vancouver's getting screwed. Like, why is it that Vancouver is the first team to actually have cap recapture be a thing?
I don't know about you, but I've been saying that this was a possibility for years, Chris.
No, totally.
Look at the purpleness coming in Chris's face right now.
If there was
Steam literally coming out of his ears.
If there was humble pie to be served right now, I would be stuffing it down your throat.
I think you are. It is verbal humble pie.
It is.
And the crow does not... Do we have the crow drop anymore?
We do, but it's in that room and you're in this room, so...
We've got a lot to talk about today.
I think there is actually a lot to talk about. Who'd
All right.
thunk it in the middle of July?
Let's waste no more time. I heard Anna's stomach grumbling.
Okay, let's not reference it every time because no one else can hear it and it's just embarrassing.
BTW, do you want to give people the heads up that you are also going MIA in August?
Yeah, I have to visit both my mother and the mother country, so I will be...
Checking in on our friends Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, see what they're up to lately. They also have a new baby.
Ginge.
Sure.
Yeah.
Will Brexit be a thing by then?
Oh, don't.
Is that still a thing?
It's still a thing.
It's going to be like a thing
So-
forever.
Is Theresa May still the Prime Minister?
For the moment, end of July, I believe she's...
Hello,
and
Prime
then she's
Minister.
Out of here.
Let me call the Prime Minister.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
Okay.
On the rails. I'm getting us back on the rails. Tyler Myers, 6 years, $5 million per for each season. Unrestricted free agent 2025. Very quickly, your thoughts.
Simply put, does he make the team better? Yes.
Does he make the team better in 2023?
No. The struggle with Myers is that, yes, you look at the Canucks blue line, the bar was so low that it was going to be made better by him being part of the organization. Is the contract absurd? It could have been a lot worse.
But we're only thinking about that because of all the 7x8 that was leaked.
Well, no, and you're right. Maybe our expectations of, oh my God, it could be really bad didn't come to fruition. We've talked about it on previous episodes. My concern here is the Vancouver Canucks have decided that next season they have to be a playoff team. And I know, friend of the show, Bearded Canuck, he doesn't like absolutes, and he's probably bang on that I'm bringing one up. It's just I still feel that the Canucks need that opportunity to season themselves. Like I was talking to a coworker today about this. You look at how other teams have taken the approach with either rebuild or weaponizing cap space. If they go and make a push for it, they have something to fall back on. Like they have prospects galore. This is going to be a problem down the road where we're going to have to trade them away because we're going to have too many. Or they have so much cap space that they could go in like Toronto. Toronto had all sorts of problems. They created a crap ton of cap space, and next thing you know, they had draft picks galore that they could use to bring in prospects. Now they're in a position where, hey, we are a contender. Make no bones about it. And yeah, we need to make some tough calls. Wouldn't it be nice if the Canucks were in that position? Because right now, if they go for it, if they actually commit, we're going to be a playoff team, and it blows up, what do they fall back on?
Yeah.
So in other words, to encapsulate your thoughts, did the move of signing Tyler Myers to the contract that they did seem 1 year too premature?
In my mind, it is. Like in my mind, if the Canucks were to go and say, hey, we want to be a playoff contender, not a cup contender, I have no big issue with that, but it shouldn't be by bringing in players that when they become a cup contender are now not the type of player you necessarily need.
And I would argue that Tyler Myers, even right now, isn't really at that position, even if we were on the button.
But the Canucks blue...
But he definitely won't be in a couple of years' time.
Yeah, the Canucks blue line was trouble.
Oh, yeah,
and
as I say, he does.
They could not bring back the same blue line as they had the last year.
No, not at all. And in fact, with what they're doing with Ben Hutton, they weren't going to. There's just the problem with the Vancouver Canucks are in right now is that they're using free agency as their means to become a better team quicker.
Yeah. A little bit of cart before the horse kind of
Right.
thing.
I have no problem if they're using free agency to become a better team that's even better. And that's where I think the disconnect for me exists. I am of the camp. They still need a year or two. Not next season.
Anna, let me ask you this question. And I will preface this by saying he is now officially off the market. Would you rather have Eric Goodbranson or Tyler Myers? Off the market is, and he got married this past weekend. Tough luck, Anna.
Yeah, you had to really...
Salt
stick the
wound.
knife in.
There you go. Eric Goodbranson's existing contract that he had, it was, I believe, $4 million for the next 2 more seasons. Or would you rather have Tyler Myers at the current contract of 5 more years at $6 million per?
I mean, it's a tough question.
Because they are effectively what is being replaced with Eric Goodbranson.
Yeah. On the one hand, we know what Eric Goodbranson is with the Canucks, i.e. not good.
Yeah. A bottom pairing defenseman.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what Tyler Myers is prognosticated to be by the quote-unquote experts.
Right. But he's being paid as, like, a second pairing defenseman. And we don't know what he's like. He could have a bit of a resurgence, but 5 years is a long time, especially for a team like the Canucks, where you want to be making push in, like, 2 years' time.
Yep.
So it seems crazy to say Eric Goodbranson.
Yep.
But I'm tempted to say Eric Goodbranson.
Yeah, it's close. I mean, as someone who follows the quote-unquote Chris Golden school of asset management very closely, Tyler Myers does have a bit more of an offensive bent to his game than Eric Goodbranson done, which is, slim and none. But is Tyler Myers at 5 years times $6 million per year that much more value than Eric Goodbranson's existing $4 million? I think it's $4 million by 2 more years.
4.4, I think.
That's 4 on.
Okay.
And I mean, is Anna crazy here, Chris? Like, you look at the two players, the contracts that they're making. Who would you rather have?
Well, so
Goodbranson, I believe, is also younger than Myers.
So in the here and now, I feel Myers is an upgrade on Goodbranson.
Yes.
Yes,
Right?
I agree with that.
And that's
Don't get me wrong.
that's the struggle. But yeah, come 2 years from now, when I now think, yeah, you're right. The Canucks they need to be a contender or a strong playoff team. Goodbranson gives them a lot more flexibility that Myers, may or may not provide. Like, and it could very well be the recency of what we've seen with Louis Eriksson, who we'll get into. Louis signs a really reasonable contract based on what free agency that year was going to provide him. And look at what we have in hindsight. We have a guy who is good with the little things, being paid the big things contract, and now it exists in so much as a anchor on a team that wants to improve.
Sorry, I was going to say we'll revisit Louis Eriksson in just a few minutes down the road here. Anna, you wanted to mention one more thing?
I was just going to say, I guess this might be a good segue to talking about him, but Jordie Benn, he is a 2-year contract, and he's only $2 million. I think he improves the Canucks, but if he doesn't, it's 2 years and it's $2 million.
Jordie Benn at his current contract, or what we were looking at possibly paying Ben Hutton? Because I think that's the sort of replacement that we're looking at.
But Ben Hutton would have made more through our
yes,
right?
absolutely. We can all agree that Ben Hutton, on whatever contract he's going to get, is going to get paid more than what we just paid Jordie Benn.
Right.
Well, so that's there is the wild card. The fact that Hutton has yet to sign, I think, a sign that other teams also saw Hutton the same way the Canucks did. Not worth what arbitration would pay out. I mean, would you take Hutton back at a Jordie Benn number?
Yeah.
Yes, without thinking, yes, actually, because it's 4 by 2, right? $4 million for over 2 years.
Yeah.
So
Sorry,
So $2 million
2 by
per
2.
year. Yeah. Sorry. Again, I was told there'd be no math.
Yeah. So that to me that's where it's a good spot for him.
Yeah.
But
But it was clear that Ben Hutton was looking more around the $3 to $4 million range, even not thinking about arbitration.
Yeah, no, and that's why he's him and his agent are probably trying to find that number or maybe term it a number. But I have no issue with Ben. You're right. Ben's a good contract. Like that, Canucks need players. They need serviceable players that can help the team out. The blue line needed assistant like Luke Schenn.
Yep.
I mean, yes, okay, sure, it was a very small sample size, but I would have loved to have seen Luke Schenn back in a Canucks jersey making essentially the money he's going to be making now. A serviceable player who he did what was he asked to do? He went out and did it.
So would you have rather had Luke Schenn at one more year for, let's say, $1 million, or Tyler Myers at his contract?
I would have done Luke Schenn. But again, that's only because I don't feel the Vancouver Canucks are in the same
that
position
Yeah.
that they see themselves in.
Yeah, fair enough. By the way, is the contract of Jordie Benn 2 years, $2 million per? Does the value of that at least give you some semblance of ease looking at how much we're paying Tyler Myers for the next 2 years as well? Like paying Tyler Myers $5 million in addition to Jordie Benn at $2 million. You could probably say if you paid Jordie Benn $1 million less and Tyler Myers at his current contract, you would feel a lot less good about those two defensemen being on this roster. Does that you guys understand what I'm saying here?
Are you saying that?
I'm saying that the value of getting Jordie Benn at $2 million per makes it easier to swallow paying Myers $5 million per.
Yeah, or it makes it more difficult because you see what value we got in Jordie Benn.
I'm just saying it makes me feel better knowing I'm paying those two defensemen a combined $7 million per season than if we were paying, Tyler Myers $6 million.
Well, he is getting $6 million.
Sorry, $7 million. Again, told there'd be no math.
Jesus.
You know what I'm saying, though, right?
Yeah.
Like the money on Tyler Myers is at least somewhat comforted by the fact that we're getting a bit of a bargain on Jordie Benn.
Actually, here's just a question on Myers.
Is Jordie Benn a bargain?
I think he's a reasonable price.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
I feel like he could have gotten maybe 2.5 to 3 if you really wanted it.
There's enough contrast to be mad at. Let's just be happy with the decent ones.
So with Myers, I guess a much more question because, and maybe you don't know, maybe those in Patron Studio know, he has a modified no trade that kicks in as of next season. His modified no trade is that he needs to submit a list of 10 no trade teams.
Yeah.
Does that mean he's an expansion?
Yes, he is.
block?
He is. No, he can be. He
eligible?
can be exposed in expansion.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's. I guess right now my focus is that whatever Jim Benning does, every player he brings in can be exposed for expansion.
I like how Tyler Myers has not played a single game, and we're already fast forwarding to 2021 when we can possibly expose Tyler Myers.
Yeah.
Well, I hope Tyler Myers
Gets picked up by Seattle. Me too.
Okay. I hope Myers comes out of the gate
and becomes the next Lucas Pisa, picked up in expansion. Tell me I'm wrong. Are we not going to be looking at that in 2 years' time?
I was hoping that Tyler Myers would come out and be the Bobby Orr the Vancouver Canucks.
Well, that's just not going to happen. Because first of all, Tyler Myers was number 57.
Okay, but you know what I mean. Like, I hope he comes out and proves us wrong. Wouldn't that be awesome? If he continues year and year and proves us wrong. Like,
but here's the thing.
But who's he going to be paired with?
Quinn Hughes.
It'll be Hughes.
Yeah. At least until Nikita Tramkin returns.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It won't be this year.
And then we put Tramkin and Myers together. So that's a lot of beef.
That's I'm just going to say, his role will be very different.
Mm-hmm.
If he's taking a Schenn-like role, he's not going to be scoring a ton of goals.
But Myers, I think, is going to get
rushes.
Myers is going to get his share of power play time as well. I think.
Well, Nexus comes out and says the next coming of Christian Ehrhoff.
Well, that's a little much.
Well,
Christian Ehrhoff was a borderline 50-point defenseman in the Canucks' heyday.
Yeah, in the Canucks' heyday, in a Canucks team that suited his strengths.
Okay, so what is a reasonable projection for Tyler Myers? A top 4 defenseman, maybe 30, 35 points?
Okay, he's going to be a top 4 defenseman whether he gets 35 or 3.5 points.
Okay.
3.5 points?
Yeah.
How does that work?
At the end of the season, they decide
the puck that goes off of his shin pad right to Quinn Hughes and into the net.
You don't deserve that point, actually.
I mean, yes, by hook or by crook, he is going to be a top 4 defenseman. But what is a satisfying projection? I guess I should say for Tyler Myers.
I think if he's going to get the minutes he's going to get, it has to be about 30 points minimum. Even if he's not scoring goals but setting them up, I'd be okay with that. He's not a quote unquote offensive guy.
Yeah.
But if he's on the ice to help set them up, and let's say again I'm using old stats, is a positive contributor on the ice. Mm-hmm. I'm not too concerned. I would actually be okay with that. But therein lies the problem. Who is then the Canucks' top pairing? Because that's who I would expect that from.
the top pairing in my mind right now, you can't go back to the old Edler-Tanev pairing as your top pairing. I think...
It's Myers-Hughes?
Nah, it's Edler with... I have Stetcher playing with Jordie Benn on the third pairing. Who's the other defenseman I'm missing out here?
Well, it depends what happens with Hutton.
Well, we've got the Bulldog.
No.
No, he's definitely our spare part.
What side of the ice does Juolevi play on? Like, you think about it, there's still issues on the blue line.
Yeah, we have to give Juolevi a shot at some point this season.
Yeah.
Have to see what we have there, because right now it's just a big question mark.
I guess it is the Edler-Tanev pairing again.
Unless Tanev somehow gets
Unless
traded.
you could pair Tanev with Jordie Benn, by the way, as well, and they could eat a lot of those tough assignments, which frees Edler to play with Stetcher, which I think worked to an extent last season as well.
Yeah, I would like to see Stetcher being given more responsibility this season.
You could also, and I hope that they try this, and I read this in The Athletic as well, you could try a Stetcher-Quinn Hughes pairing and put Edler with Myers.
I don't know how much we want to see that.
Well, that's placing a lot of responsibility on the shoulders of Stetcher.
Yeah. I will say in the defense of Tyler Myers
give him
signing,
more responsibility, but
in the defense of the Tyler Myers signing, I do think having a right side, right shot defenseman does open up a little bit more versatility on the blue line for Travis Green to mix and match his options depending on the game situation. Does it justify $6 million per year for the next 5 years? No. But I do think that adding a right-handed shot in Tyler Myers does give them a little bit more options up front, options on defense than they otherwise would have had if they brought back Ben Hutton and tried to jam that square peg into a round hole.
Yeah, and I think that's what we've been saying since the start. It's not that Tyler Myers doesn't offer something different and new. It's just we don't really want to see that length of contract.
Yeah, it's premature. Like, that's really what it comes down to. I think to a person here in this room, for us, I think all three of us say, like, if this had been next year, would we have been as concerned? Based on what we've seen to this point.
Wouldn't have batted an eye at the Tyler Myers signing, to be honest.
And that, again, would be based on what we presume is going to be a better next season.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Moving on to the rest of the defense, like, we know who the Vancouver Canucks top six is now. It's Edler, it's Myers, Tanev, Stetcher, Benn, and Hughes. That is your top six in some order, doesn't matter who, but that is a very firm top six that we have. Let me ask you, because now this gets a little bit of a logjam, and it's a way too soon look at what the blue line looks like next season, but who's your seventh guy at this point? You got Juolevi, Fantenberg, Biega, Brisebois, Sautner, Tevez, Rafferty. Which of those guys stands out as your seven at this point?
Biega.
Yeah. I mean, he's your solid seventh guy, but I want to see Juolevi.
Yeah.
I would say Juolevi too, but it's clear that he needs some sort of seasoning, getting up to speed in Utica before he can make that jump.
I say Biega because you know what you're ending with Biega. And that's what you want your seventh man to be the one that you know you can put in a pinch and will get whatever job needs to get gotten done during that period of time. The problem is we know what's going to happen on the Canucks blue line. We've got Tanev and we've got Edler who are going to play how many games this season?
Exactly. So we'll need a new seventh guy pretty soon.
Yeah. And that's where it starts to become scary, is that then you're starting to elevate players that may, Hughes could very well jump on the ice and be our next, Bobby Orr. We could have two Bobby Orrs this season. Wouldn't that be awesome?
But, yeah, no matter how good Hughes is, we're still going to have that issue.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Edler and Tanev. And as we say, we know what we're getting in Biega. Throw him in. Fine, but we don't want him as like a replacement for a long-term injury replacement.
Well, actually, on this note, Ben being here, Hutton go bye-bye. Like, there's no space for Hutton at this point, is there?
Oh, I think that ship's officially sailed.
Yeah.
I think the Ben Hutton era is officially over. Say it. The phrase.
Peace be with you.
Thank you. I will add one more crinkle into the logjam at the blue line. Oscar Fantenberg is on a one-way contract, meaning he, like Alex Biega, would also require waivers to be sent down. Does anyone else feel like this is a very short-term stay for Oscar Fantenberg?
What, he's just in case?
He is a just in case, but I feel like there is the possibility we lose him on waivers one day to a team that needs a defenseman.
Well, so he I think it's safe to presume he would be sent down early on in the season, like essentially before the start of the season.
Try to sneak him through.
All right, try to sneak him through. And let's, for all intents and purposes, say that's what's going to happen. Him getting called up means the Canucks are in tough at that point. So the benefit of then bringing him up at that point is they're probably not going to be as likely to send him back down. Then maybe they do, but they've put him on the ice enough that no one wants to take him. I'm not suggesting that that's the case. I'm not as concerned about Fantenberg because we don't really know the commodity we're going to be getting and the opportunity he's going to receive with the Vancouver Canucks. I would see more opportunity for, I won't say Biega, but like someone else. If any of those 6 suddenly be sent down, like, hey, let's just send Adler down to you.
Just wrapping up the defense conversation, I have a feeling we won't see much of, if at all, Brisebois, Tevez, and Rafferty.
Oh, Nexus won't like you.
All 3, though, don't require waivers to be sent down. So they're easy options to send down. Yes, I already looked. Don't even bother looking it up.
Oh, I thought Breeze was close. But yeah, you're right. He's still on an ELC.
And
Sottner would require waivers, though.
We're just really hoping for a better season in Utica.
Than last season? Yeah, totally.
Hey, what's going on in Utica? You think there's actually stuff?
I think it's clear, like, smoke, there's fire, Jonathan Dolan, whatever have you. Yeah. That there was some sort of development, learning curve, disconnect between the young players and Trent Cull. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that goes all the way up to Ryan Johnson at the managerial level, but this is just me thinking out loud.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of, wonder if we need a C4 Utica correspondent, someone who actually pays much closer attention to what's going there. Because in the years past, Travis Green, when he was down there, was there ever a worry as to what was going on in Utica?
I don't think anyone ever questioned Travis Green's development of the kids at the time.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's a reason he's here right now.
True, but, I think, hell, if Willie Desjardins was down there, we probably wouldn't have been questioning it too much.
Well, that depends. Is Jason Megna in Utica?
Oh, he would have been. Yeah. Player-coach. With Chaput. The thought I have, though, is if, you're right, is there smoke and is there fire? There might be something. It's just interesting that the smoke continues to sort of rise from the east. And, what that will mean long-term, we obviously don't know. We don't pay close enough attention. But we talk about sending kids down there like you levy for seasoning. Do we want our players to be seasoned or smoked? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, let's abandon that metaphor before it gets started.
Yeah, throw them in the smoker. Come out tasty.
There's always going to be the factor that it's so far away.
Well, yeah, and that's...
it's hard to keep an eye on, but it's also, it makes it more difficult for us. So if there starts being questions around the development, it's only going to kickstart the conversation more that we should be having a team closer to us. Because the benefits of the local community are massive.
Actually, I'm going to throw this on you a little bit. If, let's say, that team was in Abbotsford, would that be a good thing for that team? I actually don't think it would be. I think the microscope is then suddenly shifted so hard. Like, you would have local media covering that team constantly. You'd have all of us on the Smealosphere in there too. I'm not going to drive out to Abbotsford all the time to go and watch, but it's a lot easier for me.
Go, yeah.
Right.
There's a reason the Wolves sold out the arena whenever they came to play the Heat.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's there's the business side of things that makes sense, but then there's the actual development. Like, do you really want the microscope to be that close? Not to suggest Utica is the right place, and I don't know what the balance is, but...
Yeah, not necessarily, but it's tough when you have to, drive to Syracuse, fly to Toronto, and then fly to Vancouver just to get here.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Anyhow, Matt looks despondent.
Sorry, there is an unsavory character outside who has frosted tips, wearing polka dot shoes, and he has a scooter in his hands.
It sounds like Adam.
It's a library, there's lots of unsavory characters.
There are a lot of unsightly individuals who roam these halls.
And there are two of them in the booth with me.
You so funny.
Anyway, sorry, getting us back on track. Are we done with the Utica conversation?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Tell me if any of these players warrants any sort of talking about. But Josh Levo brought back for one more year at $1.5 million.
Yeah, fine.
Good.
You're okay with it?
Yeah,
I'm happy.
He is a UFA after this season.
sure. That's fine.
Tyler Mott, $975K.
Yeah,
RFA after this season as well.
no problem.
Justin Bailey, he's new on the Canucks, $700K.
Sure. Big work.
See, but those numbers, those are Jag numbers for Jags.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we... Oh, man. I think we talked about this last episode where we're saying we're fine with stopgap players with stopgap contracts.
Yeah. Like, and then I think we were, to your point, and this is something we've harped on so often, is that we're seeing Jags getting much better numbers from maybe Jim's turning a corner.
I don't know. We'll wrap up this conversation and head to a break. But before that, let's talk about the two RFAs in the Canucks that are still unsigned. That's Nikolai Goldobin and Brock Besser. Which one do you guys want to talk about first?
Let's talk about goalie.
So the Vancouver Canucks have sort of quite clearly stated their desire to bring back Nikolai Goldobin.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like there is a deal to be made between the two sides. What is the holdup? Is it the Brock Besser holdup? Like, they want to figure out their star player first?
Yes.
Yeah, they need to know how much money they're playing with.
Yeah, like ultimately, it's now become a cap issue. I mean, we'll talk about, I'm sure, this later.
We'll talk about it.
But
I already see it in your eye.
Right, that has created some discomfort when it comes to how much money they have to spend. You don't go and sign Goldie and have that number, then impede your ability to get your bread and butter under contract for terms. So I think once we see a Besser signing, that's when Goldie comes in. I am going to be the first to say I'm still kind of confused that Travis Green and Jim Benning still see Goldie as their guy. Like,
yeah, it does confuse me as well. The fact that they're both still willing parties in this.
Like the Ben Hutton, we're sending you on your way. I got that. Like you even if he was like they were high on him, the numbers just didn't necessarily support what they wanted to pay.
Does Goldobin feel like Ben Hutton?
Well, we talked about this in episodes before.
Yep.
Every one of us would have said if you had to see one of those two players go and one of them stay, all three of us would say Ben Hutton stays, Goldobin goes.
Yeah. And
we would have given you last season as the example of, look, he couldn't even get into a game in garbage time, right? So it's like, I actually wonder, is it tough love? I think you brought that up in one of our last episodes, is what we were seeing simply tough love because they see so much potential and they know this can happen. They just need to break this kid or something. Maybe that's what they've done. They've broken him and now they're going to rebuild him or repackage him. I don't know. Anyhow, I think Goldobin signs a show me.
1 year?
Yeah. I think at this point, and especially with what the Canucks have been doing, like, it's got to be a show me.
Is it a make or break year for Goldobin?
In Vancouver, I think it sure is.
Yeah. I mean, even from his perspective, he won't be wanting to stick around being played garbage time. So if he has this, one last chance to impress and earn more of a spot.
Well, and he's also, if he gets a show me contract, which I think he will, 1 year, he needs to ensure he's on the ice so that he can get a contract next year.
Exactly.
Right? Whether it's from the Canucks or someone else, he needs to be able to showcase his ability to, hey, sign me, because he's going to be in a big mix of a lot of players in that same position.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, there is a top 6 spot there for Goldobin to take, but there is a lot of competition for it. Mm-hmm. Like Josh Levo, Tanner Pearson, Sven Berchi, all those guys are going to be guys that Goldobin is going to have to compete with for one of those top 6 spots.
Yeah, and I have no problem with competition, but I'm so confused as to why Benning and Green are so high on Goldobin.
Yeah. There are two top 6 spots in my mind that are available because 4 of them are occupied by Pettersson, Besser, Horvat, and now JT Miller.
Yeah.
And then it's your mishmash of, again, that aforementioned
Pearson,
company.
Goldie.
Yeah, and obviously Berchi's still a big question mark.
Yeah.
Health-wise.
So, I mean, it's there for Goldobin, but I agree with you. It is very much a make or break year. I will be shocked if it's anything more than 1 year for Nikolai Goldobin. And it does seem apparent that the holdup is whatever it is that we're going to sign Brock Besser to.
Yeah.
On Brock Besser, what term are we looking at here? What contract are we looking at? What is most preferred from everyone? Long-term or short-term, first of all?
I have no problem with term. I actually think we've seen enough of Brock Besser to be comfortable with term at a reasonable dollar amount.
So when you say you're comfortable with term, you're okay with 7 years.
I feel comfortable with 7 years. I actually can see him as being part of the core. Now, if he gets 7, he is still far too young to get any letters associated to that, in my mind. But I think that the Vancouver Canucks can give him term, but then that brings with it a more reasonable number, and he could be, when the Canucks finally turn on that corner and become that team. I'm not trying to suggest, oh my God, let's run Besser out of the town. But wouldn't it be awesome that the Vancouver Canucks had such a wealth of riches that they could go and use Besser to go and like restock the cupboard if need be, as, you know, Pettersson takes the team to the promised land?
I think the idea is a long way off, but...
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm not suggesting... I would be much happier if the Vancouver Canucks won a Stanley Cup with him in the lineup, too.
Right.
Please make that very clear.
Okay, yeah, I'm comfortable with him. It's whether he wants to sign a bridge or not.
Well, haven't the reports been that term is currently the issue? They want it?
It seems like the Besser camp wants a shorter term.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's the issue.
It's kind of a Besser wants to bet on himself kind of a thing. Whereas the Canucks want to lock him down to a long-term contract that, you know, could be considered a bargain in 4 or 5 years' time.
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted. Okay, well, we're screwed.
I think it's going to be somewhere in between, because I think with 3 years burned on his entry-level contract now, it would mean 4 years gets him to unrestricted free agency status, if I'm not mistaken then. Because I think 7 years of pro experience gets you to UFA. So it feels like, on the surface, the Besser camp wants maybe 4 years, whereas the Canucks would probably want more along the lines of 7.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's probably, that's the holdup in negotiations, is they're trying to find that number in between that works for them.
Yeah, I think we'll probably end up with a
5 or 6 years, something. Yeah.
Now, how much does what Besser is negotiating now, money-wise, impact the Vancouver Canucks' ability to sign a Pettersson down the road?
Not at all.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean, conceivably, Eriksson's, whatever happens to Eriksson, he's gone, so there's money that's being freed up, but...
Possibly Sutter as well.
Possibly Sutter. All things considered, who would be the top paid player when Pettersson's contract is due?
Say that again.
So right now, like, ultimately, you look at the Vancouver Canucks, top paid player should be their best player. Great.
It's Edler, I believe, and Eriksson both making 6.
Yeah, right now. Now,
and Horvat is making 5.5. Sorry. So it's Edler and Eriksson both making $6 million.
Would you feel like, in your mind, Besser should be at that level?
Yes.
Right.
Besser should be above 6 at this moment.
Correct. So what I'm now wondering is, playing long, Besser, whatever number he signs, Pettersson's going to get paid more.
Yes.
Right. And that's where, for me, I can then start to wonder, like, you know, could the Canucks be in this premature, you know, wealth of riches, right? Yeah, like
premature pickle.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not trying to awfulize.
I don't want to be a premature pickle.
It's a good problem to have. It's just, the more I think about it, the more I wonder, is the Besser contract value the bigger issue at this point? Thinking longer term. But I don't want him to get a free UFA, because then he's going to get whatever the market wants to pay, which will be crazy.
Look, let's not overthink this. I think Besser's worth somewhere in the neighborhood of $6.5 to $7.5 million per season. Pettersson is probably going to command more than 7.5, probably closer to 10 than he is 7.5 on his next contract.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an issue. They will get it done. Pettersson has said on record that he wants to be in Vancouver for a very long time.
Oh, and I'm not.
Oh, yeah, no, I know.
Wants to leave,
but in terms of actual cap dollars, like, the Canucks will find their way to pay Pettersson what he's worth. Yeah. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Does anyone else have anything to say in terms of contracts?
I was being quiet because
or does anyone have a moment of silence for the Marcus Granlund era? Peace be with you. Edmonton. Does Connor McDavid request a trade?
We got the wrong brother again.
We'll take a break, come back, we'll talk more here on the C4 podcast, CanucksHockeyBlog.com.
Take hitting out of the game. You can't hit anymore, so don't do it.
The unsportsmanlike conduct, I want to get an explanation on.
No kidding.
Because how do you get suspended for unsportsmanlike conduct?
Plus interference. There's no interference there. He had the puck.
Now, Madison never ever did that before. Now, why did he do it in that because he was mad.
Well, your early favorite for the Calder Trophy, that's for sure. Elias Pettersson, you might even say your early favorite for the Hart Trophy.
Just to get back to your question, Elias is going to play plenty. He's going to get a lot of power play time. And yeah, I'm concerned about our offense. We lost 200-point players, and we've got to find a way to score.
You might be listening to us on the Overtime Media Network, but wherever you happen to be listening to us right now, I want to serve up another serving of humble pie because I want to just get into it because I know Matt won't give me a whole lot of time. The Roberto Luongo cap recapture. Now, first and foremost, every one of us, not including me, but us as in the room and us as in the Discord, who are saying, the Canucks don't have to worry about cap recapture. They don't have to worry about cap recapture. Well, Lord have mercy.
I never said this. All right, I said this.
Cap recapture.
Okay, so let me start with this. Are you not at least a little surprised that the Canucks aren't even going to try and fight this penalty?
Yes.
Like, why aren't you at least trying to, Benning just sat there and took his medicine.
And isn't that what Jim Benning does in every single trade negotiation?
Maybe. I am confused. I am truly confused that this isn't an issue. Now, maybe they're behind the scenes doing negotiating, but this is hamstrung you. You're essentially 3 point whatever million, short to go in and offer people. Ryan Spooner, peace be with him, was a casualty.
Man, we said goodbye to a lot of people this past week.
Right. I'm not shedding tears over Ryan Spooner being bought out. I'm so sorry. But right now, between the Ryan Spooner buyout and the,
I will give you $100 right now to tell me what jersey number Ryan Spooner wore.
Oh hell if I know.
See, I knew it. I knew he couldn't do it. It's number 15.
Okay,
I'm pretty sure.
Peace be with
you're right.
Be with him. So that's $4 million gone. So yeah, you're right. Why aren't the Canucks raising a big deal about this? The example I used to give was Chris Pronger.
Yeah.
Chris Pronger, who
we know.
We know. Gets elected to the Hall of Fame and is playing in a freaking shinny game, which has to be more dangerous than actually NHL training and all that, when he shouldn't be on the ice because he can't take it.
And yet no one's paying a cap recapture penalty.
Right.
God.
That part makes no sense. You're right. Why aren't the Canucks making a big deal of this? It is interesting, though. I don't know. Did you read PJ's article in the Province about the roundabout way this actually hurt the Florida Panthers?
Yeah, I saw that today. I haven't read the article, though. What is the TLDR?
So the TLDR, long and short of it, it's commonly accepted that the Panthers went to Luongo to say, hey, man, we don't want you
just
to
retire, so you're not on LTIR, so we can sign Bobrovsky, yada, yada, yada.
And Panarin. That was who they were going to try to make a play for.
Right.
So this then put $3 million on the Vancouver Canucks cap that they weren't expecting. The Canucks needed to free up a little space, so what did they do? They went and bought out Ryan Spooner.
Bye.
Right?
Peace be with you.
Peace be with you. But see, Ryan Spooner's contract was also being paid for by the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers suddenly, because of the Vancouver Canucks buyout, saw their responsibility drop by about $600K.
Oh, so they ended up being able to sign Artemi Panarin with those
Rangers
otherwise contracts.
Sweetened the Panarin contract offer by how much? The $600K that they just saved, that they didn't expect to save, and look who's playing in the Big Apple.
I thought I had read at the time, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that Artemi Panarin left a little bit of money on the table to play with the Rangers compared to the offer from Florida. I think it was a done deal whether or not they anteed up that $600K or not.
Yeah, probably was, but it's just interesting.
It's a little bit of poetic justice.
Way,
yeah.
Them sort of forcing, Luongo to retire as opposed to, fail a physical, hurt them. And people are like, oh, it's LTIR. Why do they matter? Well, LTIR is only going to be given relief if they're at the cap ceiling. If they're not at the cap ceiling, that's not room. They have to be at the cap to see relief. And the way the formula works is crazy. So that's why they just wanted the sure thing. We know how much this will cost us based on recapture.
Was there, and again, you as the cap recapture expert, was there not a case to be made that if the Canucks had caught wind in advance that Roberto Luongo was considering retiring or LTIR, would there not have been some sort of case to be made for the Canucks to try and acquire Luongo's contract back?
Well, and that's the thing is, I brought that up last year. I had said, well, if this is going to be possible, would the Canucks would they not rather have him here? And we sort of had that conversation where I had said, if he even thinks he can play another season, maybe this is where Markstrom is that asset that could be sold high on. And then you have Luongo, who could probably, very least, he could probably still play half the season.
I think I, at the time, very immaturely expressed my idea for a Roberto Luongo reunion tour when you said that.
Yeah. But, and if he wasn't going to be able to play, I think the Vancouver Canucks would have had no issue. Him coming back here and then, the physical
just
didn't
cramming his contract on the LTIR.
You know, when we talk about the fact that the Canucks shouldn't be punished for retroactively for not breaking the rules at the time and its previous administration, like, that is exactly the kind of thing you shouldn't be doing, and you probably should be punished for.
No, you're right, but the Canucks would simply be doing something other teams have been doing. Like, you look at the Arizona Coyotes.
I don't agree with that, I'm just saying.
Right? The Coyotes had the Pronger contract and probably wouldn't have minded if it was cap recapture because they needed to get to the ceiling, or the floor. Right? Like, it was just, there's so much crazy going on. Mike Gillis was on one of the, I think it was 1040, I don't know what station he was on, but he was talking about how when he signed that contract made 100% sense. It's what you needed to do to use.
Well, everybody was doing it at the time.
Oh, they totally were. But the Canucks, I think, were the one team that was really able to take advantage of the cap at that point.
I mean, remember the contract that the Devils signed Ilya Kovalchuk to?
That was, they opened the door, but then the Canucks, they masterfully used it to really help.
That was your boy Lawrence Gilman in action.
Can we just talk about the fact that they grandfather in something so important as, like, player safety and the visor thing, but as soon as they change the rules, we get punished, like, for something like that.
And
this is true.
And that's where you have out-of-town media, Toronto media, suggesting, wow, the Canucks are getting screwed. Like, if you have out-of-town media, Toronto media saying the Canucks are...
Don't you mean the media?
Getting taken to the cleaners, that says something. Everything, people are like, it's just Vancouver, they're a bunch of whiners. No, there's other people like, I can't believe this is actually happening. But then, is it actually happening because Vancouver doesn't realize that they can say, what?
Because I think we've discussed in the past that we thought, when it comes to it, it won't apply.
Well, no,
that's what I thought too.
That's what the two of you plus the missing in action Adam used to tell me all the time. Was like,
and so I think that's why we're so surprised by the lack of inaction on the Canucks' part. It was just literally they just bent over and let the NHL take them to Bonetown.
Let's move super swiftly on.
Wow.
Did they not? Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't
Gary Bettman came up to the Vancouver Canucks
but right now there's kids
with his Roberto Luongo cap recapture and said, I'll be gentle.
Like I said before we started recording.
You want to do it right now? Like, let's do this right now. No. Let's do the phone call conversation right now between Jim Benning and the league.
I'm scared.
Okay.
I'm totally scared.
You guys want to do this? Like, okay, I'll do this with you. You want to be the league, or do you want me to be Jim Benning? I've been Jim Benning so much over the last few episodes.
You make a good Jim Benning.
I do make a good Jim Benning. Okay, you go. You be the league. Go.
Hey, Jim, just to let you know, Luongo retired and you're on the hook for 3.03. Any questions?
Well, we expected this to happen for some time, but and this is really going to hinder our ability to add another top six forward, but sure, we'll take it.
Okay, that's good, because we're also going to punish your team for having signed this contract in the first place. The Board of Governors met, and we're going to take away your next, 3 first-round picks as
Wait, no, you're not. You didn't do that.
No, we didn't, but it's a kind of conversation.
Well, no. That's not what we signed up for. We're already going to be the first team to get hit with a cap recapture penalty in NHL history.
Okay, fair enough. That seems reasonable. I think we negotiated here, and that sounds like a good deal.
This is a good deal for the Canucks.
Yeah, I think you're right.
That is exactly how it went.
That's how Jim Benning negotiates, right? He goes in with all his cards and says, hey, are we playing Go Fish? And the person playing Texas Hold'em on the other side says, yeah, I'll take those cards from you. And here, have these ones.
Just bent over a barrel and shown the 50 states.
Jesus. Happy Independence Day, everybody.
Hello. Okay, enough of Roberto Luongo. The fact that Chris is right, Matt's wrong, and there are kids currently asking their parents all about
is the door firmly slammed shut? Like, can the Canucks not apply for some sort of, even a backroom deal or something?
I do wonder, are the Canucks going to be punished for 1 year and then the NHL will grant relief after this?
That's what I'm thinking.
So you think that it's just tut, don't do this? So slap on the wrist?
Well, just the fact that Jim Benning was just period, end of story, we'll move on and take it.
Yeah.
It seems like there's some sort of potential for there to one day be some sort of deal to be struck.
Because there could be the argument made that if the NHL because they ultimately didn't punish New Jersey. They rescinded the right.
But New Jersey did have to forfeit a pick, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought they got that back. Like I'm not. I don't.
I'm pretty sure they had to
remember.
forfeit a pick.
Okay, but they ultimately had their punishment, rescinded to some respect. That the NHL simply using the Vancouver Canucks as a sign of don't mess around with the law, but then have told the Canucks, hey, don't worry, we'll do you solid. I mean, it's the only explanation. And if they don't, holy heck.
Do you a solid?
I was going to say...
Talk about inappropriate terms here.
It's not the only explanation. The other explanation is that Jim Benning is an idiot.
Well, but okay, maybe that is true. But the person who actually would be doing probably the most vocal arguing would be Francesco Aquilini. He's the guy who's...
True. He cuts corners all over the shop. No water.
That's not where I was going with this. Next thing you're going
taxis.
Yeah, he's sending boxes of blueberries to the NHL to curry favor. No, I'm just saying that I think for him, he's the guy whose business is impacted the most by this, and he's the most vocal person at the level that this will matter. This is a BOG matter. This is the people who would tell Bettman how to do his job. Jim Benning can complain all he wants, but the owners are ultimately the ones who have the final say.
Yeah. I mean, they shouldn't.
The Devils did get their pick back.
Yeah, see, I thought so.
Originally, it was a significant fine. I don't know how much. A significant fine, the forfeiture of their third-round pick in 2011, and the forfeiture of a first-round pick. And then they did end up getting their first-round pick back, but it was 30th overall. Didn't matter how they finished in the standings that year.
Okay. So there is still somewhat of a punishment, just not as severe.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I wonder if the Canucks will have relief. If they'll be given relief next
Fine.
season. I don't know.
I will take our penalty. We can give up our first-round pick either this year or next year. But if we don't make the playoffs this year, it gets deferred to 2021.
I was going to say, let's not start giving away any more of those.
No. I was going to say, how does can the Canucks be punished for a pick that's already conditionally given away to someone else?
I guess that team will have to give them our first-round pick then.
And if that was the case, would that team then lose out?
I wish.
Wouldn't that...
You know what? I will be looking at the JT Miller trade for the next year and just monitoring the progress of that. I know that I will follow that trade for the next 2 years.
Let's say the Canucks offer sheet their first-round pick away, it's some
Mitch Marner,
sheet, right? Yeah, Mitch Marner. That pick goes. The Canucks then make the playoffs, which means this is the pick that...
Yeah.
How does that work?
So you don't need to have all your picks in that year. You can have 1 year where you don't have that first.
Right,
so
is this pick?
So if they made the
gone?
playoffs this year, that pick would go to Tampa Bay for 2020 as expected.
And then the offer sheet.
And then the next 4 years.
Yeah. Okay. No, I was just wondering about this.
So that would be 5 total first-round picks.
Okay.
It would not be nice.
It was a roundabout way where picks with the weird conditions suddenly didn't exist anymore.
I think they just take a pick away, give it to the Senators or something. They need it.
Okay. Anyhow.
Last couple tidbits before we wrap things up here on the podcast. Kawhi Leonard signing with the LA Clippers begs a good question, which was originally posed by Rod the Hockey Guy on Twitter. Who is the best one-and-done Canuck of all time? As in, they played 1 year and then moved on.
Eric Weinrich.
Eric Weinrich?
No, I don't know. Matt Sundin.
Matt Sundin. I agree.
I can't.
You weren't there.
Yeah, I can't think of any in recent memory.
Different circumstances.
Cody Hodgson, does that count as a one and done?
No, he had more than one. Matt Sundin would be the closest, but it's completely different circumstances. This is Mike Gillis, somewhat at his best. Some might argue that he encouraged Sundin to take his time and suddenly show up when, cap-wise, it made a whole lot of sense because the Canucks had all this money to spend and the prorated ability to spend it.
I will say, of at least the last 10 or so years, Matt Sundin is probably one of the best. Not even 10. That was more than 10 now, isn't it? Yeah, the last 15 or so years, Matt Sundin. Other notable names that I was thinking of off the top of my head. Tom Sestito. He was a one and done, right?
Sestito.
Byron Bitts.
Byron Bitts. Oh my goodness.
Do you remember that guy?
Yeah, he used to play with no abandon. It was just unreal. Speaking of top six Stito.
Oh God, here we go.
No, I was just saying top six forward, right? Top six Stito. Yeah. Go on.
Oh, I was going to say, do you have any other
No, I don't think the Vancouver Canucks have really ever been in a position where they've got. I mean, they've gone and traded for players.
Yeah.
Worked out, right?
Here's a good one you might remember. Aaron Miller.
Aaron Miller. Why is he a defenseman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, then that's the guy.
That's the name of a character in a TV show.
No.
Brian Smolinski.
Oh God, that was in the same area as like Eric Weinrich in it.
Yeah,
that was Brian Burke making trades for the sake of trades.
I think that was Nonis.
Was that Nonis?
Yeah.
Okay, but that was like it was the weird. It was
that was 07, I think.
Oh yeah, there were 4 trades that were made. That was like what, and then the Canucks got boomed. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other great 1-year wonders. Mika Norinen.
Oh well, that was that same year.
I think that was the year before the lockout.
Was
the
it? Okay.
04
No,
lockout.
I want to say it was the same because was it before? Maybe you are right because that was the year the Smolinski and I was the year that Ald was.
No, Smolinski was the year in 07 when they went to the conference semifinals and lost to Anaheim.
Oh, that was Anaheim. So I was with Luongo.
Because that was Dallas and then Anaheim that year.
Yeah, because that was when Roberto essentially carried his team and should have got his MVP.
I can't think of other 1-year wonders more recently. Like Jan Bulis?
Yeah, but Bulis was here more than a year, was he?
Was he?
I seem to think he was a year and a half.
Rob offered Nick Bonino.
That is a good one, too. Nick Bonino is another good one.
But in fairness with Bonino, the Canucks traded Bonino.
Oh, it doesn't matter. Like you just have to. The criteria is just 1 year.
It doesn't mean a 1-year deal.
Okay, I didn't read the post, so I had no idea. I just understood the context of Kawhi.
Because then I was going to say that's just like quite impossible.
Nick Bonino is a good one, by the way. Honestly, I didn't have a problem with Nick Bonino.
When he was traded, though, and the return the Vancouver Canucks got back,
Brandon Sutter,
we all said like, not bad.
Yeah. We didn't
I would do that deal. I would like to reverse that deal, though.
Oh yeah, no, it's a hindsight 2020. It's like it goes on the list. Like it's still below the Cam Neely trade, but that goes on the list of ones that the Vancouver Canucks need to get back. Who was it that asked me once? Like what was the Vancouver Canucks last trade that they won? That you would say, oh yeah, you clearly
like a
won
clear landslide.
Yeah, not like they won the trade. What would have been the last clear landslide?
Okay,
they won that deal.
Josh Levo's quite a good one.
What about Pearson for Gudbranson?
Yeah.
So
both of those.
So I would say that one, but are those clear landslides?
I know.
I think it's a landslide. Is it a clear landslide? Probably not.
Yeah, like I mean, the clear lands like in the Naslund.
No, it's not. There's nothing really.
Name, right? Like,
Stoyanov. No.
Yeah.
There's not really a deal like that. Granlund for Shinkarik? Was that what the deal was? It was Granlund for Shinkarik.
Yeah, straight. I mean, you look at that, you could say
got like 4 years out of Granlund for that one.
Serviceable jag for someone who didn't.
Yeah, I think the reason we're reluctant to say Pearson and Levo is just it's a little too soon. But let's not forget.
Could we qualify the first round pick for Corey Schneider?
I don't know if that counts.
That trade really hurt for the first year or two because Schneider was still doing well in New Jersey, but as time has gone on, Bo Horvat has clearly emerged the better player of the two.
Yeah, so that's.
I would probably say that's probably the closest thing to a clear landslide.
But then the difference there is that's not like, oh yeah, that's a landslide. But I mean, you could say the same about Naslund. Naslund didn't amount to anything until like 4 years down the road. Mike Keenan shows up.
Yeah,
and somehow Mike Keenan pulled the player out of.
Maybe
Naslund.
we need Mike Keenan for Nikolai Goldobin.
Yeah. Replace him. Replace Green with
Have you ever heard some of the Spit and Chicklets podcasts about Mike Keenan?
No,
some of those stories about Mike Keenan. Whew.
I think I heard that Keenan is suffering from some health issues right now.
Oh, I haven't heard that.
I don't know specifics. I'm not trying to speculate. It's just, I look back to the era he's here. It was just such a mess. Anyhow,
we're running short on time, Chris. So why don't you tell people where they can find us?
Well, you found us already, and if you happen to be listening to this podcast but have yet to give us a subscribe, smash that subscribe button on whichever your favorite podcast app it happens to be. We would be eternally grateful that you do. We're also all over social media. We're on Twitter at the C4 Podcast, which is a much more active account and probably one that's far wittier now that Anna has been given keys to that car.
I know. Right? Thanks for that. Thanks for letting me have driving privileges.
Well,
Dad.
we've been talking about trying to get you in the driver's seat for a while. It was just a matter of how we were going to accomplish that, and finally I just gave up and gave you the stupid password.
Yeah.
Right? But
which we both know that Matt and Adam are never going to get.
No.
I wasn't even listening to what you guys just said.
Exactly.
I was literally just texting Adam.
Yeah, we're on Facebook. We're on Facebook as well. We don't use Facebook all that much, but the place you need to be is in Discord. Gate 16 chat has actually been pretty cool this summer. And you know what?
We welcome some new people into this.
We have, there was actually some new blood that's shown up. That's awesome. I think one of the things that I don't ever want to take for granted is as much as we see some of our Gate 16, right now it's called Hate 16 for those that might be confused.
Should we change that back, by the way?
Well, I was going to ask, like, when do we change it from Hate to Gate? I was going to do that in a free agency.
Can we call it Playoff 16 now?
Playoff 16. We could. I can change it anything. But, you know, as much as some of the arguments that might occur, we're at the end of the day,
it's very respectful dialogue.
Right, and we're Canucks fans that we just, at the end of the day, we want what's best for Canucks, which you can't say about Canucks social media. There's all sorts of crazy things.
Okay, so can we call them out? Like this new podcast that's out there? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think, well, I've had an exchange with them.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so I saw the tweet, and I'm like, I was having fun with it, right? I was like, asking for a friend. Because I get that here at C4, some of the feedback we get, sometimes we're too negative and what have you, and we realize that, but we own that. We try to provide some balance. I mean, sure, we don't have Clay Hu anymore, who is always, positive because that's who he is.
Yeah.
But I'd like to think we're a pretty balanced approach. Yeah. We got a good mix. And then I think they engaged back, and then you start like, well, how are we supposed to read this?
Yeah. And honestly, I don't want to give it that much more oxygen. I just think they've made some, not enemies, but they've made some noise, let's say.
Yeah, and that's, making noise is fine, but it's the approach as to how they do it. Like, you look at who engaged. Like, some of the other more established podcasts here are like, yeah, guys, maybe slow that roll here. You're great. We want you. But...
Yeah, because as you said, balance is good. So we don't want another podcast that sounds like us.
No, exactly.
If there's a podcast that sounds different to us, great.
Awesome.
Enriches the landscape. So
and I know, like, Matt gets upset when I talk about, like, trust the process or pucks on net or Canucks conversation. These are some,
He's glaring right now.
No. But at the end of the day, them out there, they all provide different things, and I think we do get along. We've guessed it. The agree or disagree, which is relatively new into the Canucks sort of sphere and in conversation. I think this is good. It's good to have these different voices, and I think we can do well to each other. So I would never go and light any one of them on fire without having even published an episode. Anywho, if you're curious as to who this is, it's very easy to find. Just go to our Twitter. I'm not going to actually give them the light of day until they deserve the light of day. I'm like an old man.
I wouldn't trade you guys for any of these other podcast hosts, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
How much is Adam worth on the market?
$5.
Yeah. You're listening to us possibly on the Overtime Media Network. Hopefully you don't mind tuning in. We do some ad breaks and whatnot, but
it's all good fun.
It's all good fun, right? And that's sort of how we take it. We are hoping to sort of use that as that stepping stone. There are other hockey podcasts outside of the Vancouver market that are part of the network itself, is looking to see how we can collaborate more. For instance, there's a great podcast on the Nashville Predators, and I'm hoping to possibly get some of them involved just to tell us a little bit about, what's going on in Nashville. I ever since we played the Preds in the 2011 playoffs, it's just soft spot.
Yeah, I mean, I liked them the most in the 2011 playoffs. But.
Yeah. And then, as I sort of was talking about Discord before we sort of segues, join our Discord. Take part in the conversation. We're pretty easygoing about it. Have good fun. We're not as sort of visceral as the rest of Canucks social media. And one final note. We are coming up to episode 200. And we're lining some things up. Just saying.
Things and stuff.
Things and stuff. Stuff and things. Episode 200 will be coming down in August. So, stay tuned. You'll see more on social. And we also want to get you, our thousands and thousands of listeners, involved. Again, stay tuned on social. Stay tuned on Discord.
I'm really excited for that episode, by the way.
We're gonna do something special. We've not really ever done something that special.
Has it been 200?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, dude, we're coming up on, we're over 6 years old now. We're the longest running Canucks podcast.
We still have hair.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. This is...
Mainly.
Yeah, we've iterated. The only constancy in this podcast is me.
Oh, God. Here we go.
No, I'm just saying.
So, Anna, final thoughts? I want to hijack that from Chris. Okay.
No. I don't know. It wasn't as bad as it could have been.
We're talking about free agency.
Yeah, that's my positive spin. This hasn't been as bad as it could have been.
Mine?
You.
Is Brock Besser signed yet?
As of this moment, no. As of the moment
I asked you an hour ago and he was still not signed.
Yeah, Matt's going to be like the kid in the backseat. Are we there yet?
Just get it done. I don't see what the holdup is.
You're former media. Don't you have Jim Benning's phone number? Like, I could slide into Francesco's DMs if you'd like.
I don't even have Jim Benning's secretary's phone number.
No,
does Jim Benning know how to use his phone?
Apparently, he makes...
He uses it too well.
Yeah. When are we replacing it with a Fisher-Price model?
Good question. As for me, the only thing I will mention, and it's not hockey related, is make sure you get out there, give your loved ones a hug, reach out to those friends you haven't spoken to, head out for coffee, a beer, whatever it happens to be. For those who've been following me on social, it's been a tough time for me, and I just want to issue that reminder that it's important to take count of what the here and now is. You have no control over beyond that, and the last thing you ever want to do is miss an opportunity to say hi to someone, to wish them well, to find out what they're doing, because those small things matter. So on behalf of Matt Lee at @MattLee_61, Anna Forsyth at A Forsyth03, the Missing in Action, Adam O'Neill Carter at AdamFOC, and myself, Chris Golden at Lightforce, I'm signing off the C4 podcast with the two words you normally get to hear, and that is, we're out.